Now again, we are back to work. I want to pull you a little bit into the world of CAMARA. Who already knows about CAMARA? Oh, a lot of people? That's a good signal. Excellent. I think then we can shorten the first part, which is a little bit the introduction and the motivation of CAMARA, and really focus on the content. And for that, I think we have two very interesting topics for you. The one is, what can you get from CAMARA? So which APIs have we already defined for you, for the cloud developers? That is presented by Jill. And then the second, we want to show how we use cloud technology to implement our APIs, but also the whole API exposure. So let's start a little bit with CAMARA, with an introduction. I think it was about 4 years ago where we saw that we have very interesting capabilities in our networks, in the telco networks, which can help you as developer to improve your application or to create new ones. So functionality like easier authentication, like possibilities to see fraud, possibilities about location, so we can send notification if one device comes close to another one. And also, we have the possibility to influence the network. So what's possibly interesting is for you to get the lowest latency for gaming cases, for example, or to have a reserved bandwidth. So all this are nice capabilities, but we learned very quickly that a lot of telco know-how is necessary to understand it. You have to know what are a cell, what is a slice, what is a 5G core, how is the RAN working. A very complex thing, and telcos are very special people, by the way. So, and we decided it's not the way we want to bring that to you, because you want to have it very easy, simple, easy to consume. And for that, for example, we created an abstraction layer and defined the APIs in a sense, for example, that you can say, from my device, from my mobile phone, to this server and the internet, please give me the lowest latency you can. And then it's up to us to do it. And it's different from network to network. The device can be in a Wi-Fi, the device can be in a fixed line, the device can be in cellular. So that's all hidden. We have the simple API call on the top. And that is the scope of CAMARA. We define these simple and easy APIs. And the second effect, what we get is that all the operators implement the same API. And that's also interesting for you as developers, because it's nice for you to implement an application for one country and one operator. That could be a niche. But the real scalable business comes if it works in all the networks, in all the countries. And that's the second big thing of CAMARA. So now, and that was the point when we decided to initiate CAMARA as an open source project, because we want to be fast. Telcos typically do it with SDOs, and it takes years until you have paper, and then the topic is gone. So this time, we have done it differently. We are doing standardization via code. And it's very successful. Now CAMARA has celebrated the 3rd anniversary, and I think we have more than 1,200 people from more than 400 companies all over the world working on around 60 APIs, and the number is growing day by day. So it's a very, very successful thing. That's about CAMARA. That is the scope of CAMARA. But CAMARA is part of a complete API ecosystem. And if you want to use APIs, you should consider the whole ecosystem. So in this little picture, you can get a feeling of it. You don't need to see all the little boxes, just to have a graphical illustration. The green things are the capabilities which are at the telcos. Then we have CAMARA to define and standardize the products. When we have done it, we learned that telcos are not good to expose it into the internet. So we need more things besides a pure API gateway. We need a complete API management. We need to have a capacity management to safeguard a network. And for example, we need a consent management. For a lot of these APIs, we need the consent of the end user. So a lot of functionality is needed to make this business happen. And at the end, also the monetization. So rating, billing, metering, that's all necessary. And we had to work on these standards. And you can see GSMI Open Gateway has stepped in, has defined the standards. There is a technical document describing all these functionalities. And we have, in the meantime, a lot of software vendors implementing it and providing really solutions. So, and then the last piece, that's the purple one, it's aggregation. It's nice to have a one operator API in one market, but that does not bring the scalable business. For a lot of use cases, you need a coverage in the market. And as an example, in Germany, we have, I think, 30 different MNOs, MVNOs, second brand. It's a lot. And to have the coverage is really a key thing. So for that, aggregation is very important, and we are also happy to have the first players here, like Nokia, like Aduna, who are doing the aggregation for markets. With that, we have now really the infrastructure and the possibility to deliver our capabilities to you. And if you want to see more, you can jump on our nice CAMARA website, where you will find an overview of all the 60 APIs, of all the areas. You can click on it, go in, have a look. And if you are interested to find all the links to the sources, to the GitHub, it's all open, it's all free, it's all Apache. We are open source. So that's about CAMARA. That's my little introduction. And now I think let's really go and see the APIs.
Great. Thank you, Markus. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our computing service APIs. So these are going to be a little bit more relevant to folks in this audience. So I will note that all of the information that I'm presenting here is available on the website. Markus just showed you where it was. So if you go to camara.org, you'll find a drop-down that says API Overviews, and it's going to list all of our API families, along with the names of each specific API, and you click on that and you can get to a lot more detail. So our first API here is Simple Edge Discovery, and this is our only mature API from this family. And basically what it does is it helps discover the closest edge cloud zone to any given device, and it optimizes for data processing by being closer to that zone. Some really common use cases for that would be gaming. It's going to reduce latency, among other things. IoT is a popular use case, as well as just general content delivery, because the closer you are to that zone, the better quality you're going to have. So another one we have here is called Application Endpoint Discovery. And this one, it helps high-performance applications locate the nearest edge cloud zone, while also linking to the nearest edge points. This one gets a little bit more complicated because at the back end here, we're dealing with multi-node distributed applications. And so what it does is it solves the problem of having the front end locate the best service nodes in the back end that are going to give you the best delivery. So the edge case here is really, the use case here is really after identifying that nearest application zone endpoint, it's going to connect directly to your chosen endpoint after you discover it. If there are no good endpoints nearby, it's going to leverage another API that I'm going to talk about in just a minute called Edge Application Management. So before we get to that one, this one speaks a little bit for itself. It's an energy footprint notification. Basically what it does is it provides information about your carbon footprint and your end-to-end energy consumption of the services that are exposed by this set of APIs. So the use cases here, again, are pretty self-explanatory. It can the API can help consumers to track the energy consumption and the carbon footprint of their services or their device. There's some sustainability reporting, optimizing for energy, green initiatives, and then of course compliance, which is something that everybody is pretty much top of mind these days. So now going back, this is Edge Application Management, and it basically helps you manage the entire life cycle of an Edge application. So I won't tick through this one too much. It's pretty self-explanatory. It basically helps you. It helps you find your distributed telco edge cloud to host and deploy basically from beginning to end. The next one we have here is site to cloud VPN. Again, this one's pretty self-explanatory as well. It helps to create and configure a site to cloud network to the VPN in one click. A couple of possible use cases here are digital exhibition. Something like this might actually be useful for if you're doing a demo here at a conference like KubeCon, because it's going to let you get to that VPN with one click, and it's going to give you really secure high bandwidth to access that. Another use case here is say you're in court. And somebody needs to show some video files that might be sensitive for your trial. So what it's going to do again here is it's going to help you get to that VPN very quickly and have that secure connection to show those videos in court where maybe you don't want, where you need to have the high bandwidth and the latency that you want to avoid with latency issues. Again, with some secure connections. Next, we have traffic influence. This one helps you modify the connection policies of devices based on traffic flows. So it helps to route user traffic to the best edge application server in a telco cloud environment. And of course, we're trying to optimize here for performance as well. And so if a user, this is the cool part about this API that I really like. If a user moves, the API can update the routing to keep the performance optimal. And it works in tandem with some other CAMARA APIs like quality on demand to really keep that high performance and higher experience for the end user and the consumer. So I know I ticked through those really quickly. As I said, all of this information is available on the website, so if you missed some of it, don't worry about it. You can just find it online, as well as some of our other API families that we didn't go into today. But with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Laura.
Thanks, Jill. I'm going to the infrastructure. In my previous life, I was a data engineer, so I'm more involved in infrastructure, even if the AI infrastructure, it's APIs as well. So this, what we try to do is an example of when you call an API in a real app. You see many logos because we try, this is a multi-telco initiative, so it depends on what technology on the cloud would you prefer. So I put a few icons, but choose whatever you feel more comfortable. So this is an example and a real demo for a website that someone introduced his phone number, and then the network verifies instantly if the network that it say on the form is the same that is using, okay? We do it and you save 10 seconds of a login, so it's really powerful for experience, for the user experience, or for getting better and easier to use for users. So what developers do, it's on their own forms, they include the authentication and the call of the API. And what is happening when they call this API? So it goes directly to the cloud provider. I say some example because for users we have Vonage or Google Cloud that it's available. So they call it, and it is not only expose the APIs. These cloud providers, they made an implementation to do what we call the Telco Finder. you use only one call of the API, and then the cloud provider, just to know if it's called to this telco, if this number goes to other telco, and then it do the magic for developers. When they know what telco goes, the call, then is the cloud provider who send this call to the operating platform of each telco. And then what it uses is the authorization. There is a transparent portal for telcos, so then you know the user consent is permitted or not. And then when it knows that it can make a call, then what we have in the operators platform is an API gateway. It doesn't depend what technology you use, but all of us, we use Kubernetes, all these architectures. You can use Con or whatever API gateway you like most, but we need these infrastructures in Kubernetes because it makes us scale up and do things very fast and really scalable. So these API gateways, what we do is go directly to the API telco implementations. Each telco must have, using CAMARA, their own implementation. Some of the examples of what we use of technology, Django, Spring, but you can use whatever because it's some specific for each telco. And then what we have in the Kubernetes cluster. This is an example of a Kubernetes cluster when you see each API from different projects, from different namespaces, okay? We see the QOD. I don't see it because it's really small here, but the base status, right now this one is number verified, and we see the ingest. We did do, what do what we discussed before, the ingest.
Probably I can step in for this picture. It's a screenshot out of the Deutsche Telekom environment, and just it shows how we use Kubernetes and cloud technology to implement the APIs. So we have a Kubernetes cluster, that's I think the easy thing. We are using a project for each of our staging environments. So one for development, one for testing, one for production. And then within the project, we have namespaces for each of the APIs, so that they are separated. And then I think it's very typical. We're using ingress for the incoming calls. That is also creating and providing then the endpoint for the API, and then using the PODs where the Kubernetes containers are running, the real so-called transformation function. And by the way, you can see there are some APIs where you can see a little box at the right side. That is just the reason because it's the dev, and for that we have mocked a lot of southbound functionality. We use it also in a POD, and on the last API it's missing because that's really connected to a backend system, to a testing system where we don't need it. It's quite simple, and I think it's a way forward way to use cloud technology.
And the next discussion that we have is like, I think all of the telcos we use some technologies as DevOps and GitOps that I heard. What we try to do is continuous integration, continuous delivery, and try to use as many tools that make it easy to generate products. Firstly, all of us are based in CAMARA, and then CAMARA is on GitHub. You should join the GitHub. What we do for development, you see some logos because there are technology for all the telcos. One thing that is important right now is like we've been several years ago using GitHub Copilot, generating some code. Some tools that we have to use in these moments. Mostly we use GitHub Actions, or I think it's more more for the time, but GIF actions is one that is useful right now, using tools for quality as well, and deployment. All of our infrastructure is based on Kubernetes, just to scale up and make it easy. It doesn't matter which cloud you like most. We have different ones. Ours is in Azure. You are different, but the main goal is that finally we have many tools as well in our deployment to monitoring and do the observability. For example, for the calls or APIs, I know that are the times that we're expecting. We use the last API, but it's one example to another. But everything that we have it in the cloud. That's important. And why we have everything in the cloud? Because it helps us a lot. For example, we have a client, and this client, maybe we are expecting millions of calls, and what happened? Because they want it now. So the best thing is having these infrastructures that we can scale it and make it big, and so then all the millions of calls are available. Faster make time to market. Okay, we are telcos. In my previous life, I takes like 6 months to have a machine, and then you have to install it and put it on the CPD. So now with cloud, hopefully, it's good. Cost savings. You can have a machine you only pressing the button. That's the best thing that happens for us in architecture. And cost savings, because it used to that you spend a lot of money because you think that you are going to need a big infrastructure, and maybe you don't have time to get it bigger. So we need this, and then you don't need as much. Okay, so for us, for this, it makes you scale and saving costs. It's expensive away, but I think it's worth it. Last thing is I hope you like CAMARA. We will be in the booth tomorrow on the...
Yeah, we have a booth in the show floor, so visit us. We're near the the CNCF swag store. We're right there. So if you have questions, we'll have some swag.
We have socks.
We have socks and notebooks and stickers.
Yeah, and all the people that raise their hands, they would love to have socks. But please scan this QR, join the community, individual contributors, companies, telcos, whatever. Be in contact, because I think we are doing something big in the telco ecosystem. This is increasing. There are new opportunities, new APIs. It's amazing what we can do when we are together. Hope to join.
Yeah. And I realize we didn't introduce ourselves. So just very quickly, my name is Jill Lovato. I'm with the Linux Foundation. I work very closely with CAMARA and the other networking projects.
For me, I'm Laura Lacarra. I work in Telefónica as head of DevRel.
And I'm simply Markus, CAMARA Outreach Committee.
I'm from Deutsche Telekom.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.